But first, as always, we start the show with the latest news headlines. Let's bring in Sophie Elsworth. Sophie, let's start with one of your pieces. You wrote for The Australian that Sky News Australia has begun legal action against RMIT Fact Lab, demanding the retraction of false fact-checking verdicts on the TV channel's online content and reimbursement for lost revenues. It follows a comprehensive report on the saga in the Fact Check Files by Jack Horton, which prompted Meta to suspend its fact-checking partnership with RMIT. Tell me the latest here, Sophie.
So, Rita, basically Sky News has issued legal letters to the RMIT University, basically saying to them that their conduct is pretty appalling and that they need to remove the fact checks that they have online. They need to also, because they're saying Sky News content is false, which it is not. And they're also asking for revenue to be paid to them as lost revenue as a result of these fact checks labels that stop the Sky content from being viewed. Because not forgetting, Rita, the RMIT Fact Lab did not have certification for fact checking when they were making all these claims about Sky's content.
Well, I mean, the certification is one thing. To me, a far greater concern is just the blatant left-wing activism masquerading as a fact check.
Right.
They're not even artful about it. It was so blatant that even Facebook had a look at what was happening and said, we're suspending this relationship and having a look into it. So let's hope that suspension is permanent, because this is election interference. When you are suppressing legitimate stories, where you are putting these false fact checks so people don't see them, then the numbers get suppressed on social media where so many people get their news, then you're actually having a really sinister influence on an electoral process.
That's right, Rita. And Jack Houghton has exposed this for all it is and shown that the fact checkers themselves, even Russell Skelton, the director, they've tweeted or retweeted at the very least, very left-leaning tweets.
Pro-voice.
They're pro-voice, and this is a problem.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you may find certain personalities who can separate their own ideology from the job. But sadly, increasingly in media, that's becoming difficult to see, because the lines between opinion and news are being completely blurred. We're talking opinions here. We're telling people what we think, and it's very clear indeed. And sticking with the fact-checking theme, the Daily Mail has revealed the BBC's disinformation correspondent faces allegations of lying on her CV. 27-year-old Mariana Sprigg has been accused of falsely claiming to have worked with a respected BBC journalist in order to seek freelance work in Moscow. This was around 5 years ago. She was caught out, apparently, Sophie, so she didn't get the job. But this is someone who supposedly rails against disinformation. It's a bit of a hypocrisy at play.
Rita, these things always catch up with you. Why would you lie on your CV? This is going to come unstuck, and it has now. But it's really important to point this out, particularly because of this lady's job, where she's supposedly stamping out disinformation, whereas she's actually telling people stuff that isn't even true.
And not surprisingly, also some accusations of her being essentially a lefty who's using the role to push a left-wing agenda. Now to the race-based referendum, and the Daily Telly reports that new polling shows that despite being the biggest political advertising spender on Facebook and Instagram in Australia, almost 1 in 3 voters don't rate any of the Yes campaign's arguments as compelling reasons to vote for The Voice. This is really interesting because it shows two things. Firstly, it shows the enormous war chest that the Yes Camp has. They're their biggest advertiser, political advertiser in Australia. And I know that, they've got this enormous amount of money, reportedly $100 million to spend in a fairly short period of time. So that's why you're being bombarded with yes messaging, and they can spend that money across the country, whilst the No campaign is far more limited. That they don't have that money, so they can't be putting these ads on Melbourne and Sydney television constantly. They're concentrating on the smaller states where it's a little bit cheaper, Tasmania and South Australia. But the second point that's interesting is that it ain't working. They're not resonating. Whatever they're selling, the Australian people aren't buying.
That's right, Rita. And there's a lot of people out there who are not wearing yes shirts, who are not wearing yes badges. They don't have yes posters on the front of their homes. There's a real undercurrent in society of people who are very, very quiet. And I think that is very concerning to the Yes campaign. And I think also, Rita, this is a David and Goliath battle. This is the little guys versus the big corporate giants and the elites in this country. And people don't like being talked down to. I think this has been a real issue in this campaign, particularly when Anthony Albanese aligned himself with Alan Joyce, the Qantas CEO, and then we know how that's all unfolded into an absolute disaster. So I think the No camp shouldn't rest easy yet. However, yet, like you say, the Yes camp has a lot of cash.
Oh, they'd have a lot of cash indeed. We haven't seen anything like it really in this country, that amount of money being spent in such a short period of time, and also this mismatch of resources between the two sides. But like you said, it's a David and Goliath battle, and David is winning at the moment. It's not over yet. Now, brave detransitioner Chloe Cole, who in July told Congress her childhood was ruined by gender reassignment therapy, took to X, formerly Twitter, to reveal that Meta considers her Instagram bio to be too violent. Sophie, I would have thought performing a double mastectomy on a healthy teenager, she was only 15 years old when they did that procedure, that was far more violent than her recounting her experiences on her own social media platforms. I mean, this sort of censorship seems to be very odd indeed from Meta.
She's just explaining, Rita, what she went through. I don't think there's any issue with that. I mean, it's pretty full on. Well, any of us would agree, I'm sure, that it's very intense what this woman went through, and she's explaining it on social media. So this is absolutely a form of censorship, and that is frightening.
It is, and we've spoken to Chloe Cole on this program, and her story is really an important one. I think she's saving lives. She's going to be saving a lot of confused kids from making the sort of mistakes she's made, and they're irreversible in her case. She's only still a teenager, but she fears she's sterile from the treatments she's had. She's had her breasts removed. She's got all sorts of lifelong medical issues that she has to grapple with now. So this is...
It's good that she's pointing this out, though, Rita, so people are aware and they've realised the dangers, because she's come out of the other side.
Still a teenager.
Exactly.
Still
a very
teenager.
sad situation.
And was put on, I think, fairly powerful hormones at 13 and double mastectomy at 15. Just think about that. Crazy. Now, let's go to President Joe Biden, who's had yet another incoherent press conference. This one was so bad that his handlers moved in to cut the question and answer session short. Speaking in Hanoi, the president, well, he was confused.
Look, nobody likes having celebrated international meetings if you don't know what you want at the meeting, if you don't have a game plan. He may have a game plan. He just hasn't shared it with me. But I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.
Look, he wants to lie down, and I think we're all on board with that. I think he needs a lie down. But when he's speaking in full sentences, he says dumb stuff like this.
And the only existential threat humanity faces, even more frightening than a nuclear war, is global warming going above 1.5 degrees in the next 10 years. And we're in real trouble. There's no way back from that.
What do you think about that we've got to be far more worried about global warming being the end of the world than nuclear war?
Rita, this whole performance by Joe Biden, I will say, is an utter embarrassment to America. am at the point now where I almost can't watch this anymore. It's just so demoralising.
Don't say that, because I've got a Biden extravaganza
Yes, we want
coming
the viewers
up later.
to tune into the Biden extravaganza.
So you need to watch
Absolutely
that.
do. But Rita, I
It
just
is
want to
painful.
get that mic. Surely someone should just get that microphone and save him from these embarrassing situations where he makes no sense. He speaks in riddles. How on earth is this man running the country?
Well, yeah, as someone said, is he running the country, or is the person who controls his teleprompter running the country? But yeah, we do have a Biden extravaganza coming up later in the hour. Sophie Vice President Kamala Harris ain't much better. She's been mocked for being cringe after a video went viral of her dancing. I think this is what this is called, dancing at a White House hip-hop party.
Real good girl. Biggest thing in my itty bitty world. She made me feel like she's never take flight. Something this mic in her hand. Something hot, fantasy game. You painted my mind every minute. You always in the car. Such a vibrant thing. Vibrant thing. We both fly. Give each other space and not the evil eye.
I'm lost for words. Stop. There will be no more of that. You're not going to... anyone replays that clip again, they're sacked. I'm saying it here right
why,
now.
Rita?
Because you could only watch that once before the cringe becomes too much. And you just, like Joe Biden, you need to just go away and have a lie down.
But Rita, I would argue that a hip-hop is probably better than a political manoeuvring. And look, if someone put a camera in front of you or I, would we look that great dancing? I'm going to cut a bit of slack here, Rita.
No,
I didn't think that was that bad.
Oh,
it was entertaining.
Sophie Elsworth.
It was entertaining.
Are you blind?
I say more of
Did
it.
you see what I saw? Did you? Are you seeing
Do not
something else?
censor that content.
No, I am censoring it. No one is allowed to play it ever again. It needs to just
Censorship,
be disappeared.
Rita.
Yeah, I'm pulling my own fact check on that. Cringe. I'm marking it cringe, never to be seen again.